It's the ultimate guide to pricing corporate tours. So what we're going to dive into, three big things for moving up today. Before we get to Catherine and before we get to Midgie, I want to hear from each of them. They're going to share a little bit about their pricing models. Before we talk about that, I want to talk about when we're looking at corporate, who's it for? Always going to be that first question. Know your job, that we're going to dig into a little bit. And then finally, this idea of what works best for you. So I want to start with this first one. And we always push this idea of that we really need to know who we're targeting. It is so hard to speak to a room full of people and say that same message, that we found that you can cut through a lot more effectively by focusing on one person and having that message still radiate to other people. So if you haven't done this yet, as you're going to start outreach to corporate groups, take some time to go through and define that one target corporate guest. Give them a name, make them a real person, give them an age. What is their job at the organization? Do they have children? How do they find out about you? Get all this, be able to run through all this in your head before we start hit the ground running. Let's get that plan mapped out, have it in place of this is the person and this is how we're going to get them. And once you have that plan, you're being in a good spot. One of the things I want to clear up when we think about going to corporate groups, and we see this in a lot of businesses, is that this phrase gets thrown around of B2B. Like I'm a B2B business. No, we're B2C. But at the end of the day, it's all B2H. It's all a human. It's all a person on the other side. No one is standing outside of a business with a boombox playing their sales message saying, hey, work with us. It's so many times when people describe that corporate tour they're going after, it's, oh, it's a company that does this, and they're talking about a building. Like, no, I want to know it's the director of HR. I want to know it's the head of sales, whose name is Katie, and you got to her from this. So really look at narrowing that down and knowing exactly who you're trying to target on that corporate tour side. The second idea of knowing your job. One of my favorite books is a book called Competing Against Luck by a Harvard business professor, the late Professor Clay Christensen. Fantastic video that we're going to share at the end of this about what job causes you to hire a milkshake. And if you haven't heard about this before, it's the jobs to be done framework. And the idea is really understanding what you're fulfilling for a person when they're working with you in your service. And so in this case, let me give a little spoiler on the video, but what he breaks down the milkshake to is that it's the comparison that they found out most people were buying milkshakes between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. So they were like, well, what the hell's going on that people are buying milkshakes this early? And what they found out is that the job the milkshake was doing was a breakfast replacement for people. They didn't want a sandwich because it was messy and it was hard to drive with. They didn't want a bagel because they'd have to spread it and try to eat. But the milkshake was viscous enough that it would take them some time. It would help them feel full for a little bit. They could sip on it as they drove. And so for the tour, it's looking at what is the job? What job are you really doing? And with the pandemic, we've seen a big shift that a lot of companies used to be a tour company, and it was great. And we had a lot of business for tours. But now it feels like this shift is coming towards being an experience company. And tours are part of what you offer, but there's a lot more experiences you can start to offer as well. And when you understand who you're targeting and the job that they're really hiring you to do, we can understand a little more of that value behind it. That's what we're going to hear from with Catherine and Midgie. On this third part, what works best for you? I wanted to highlight just how your business is fully in your control. A lot of times, I think we use our own internal compass, our moral compass, to say, this is fair, this is what I would do, and this is right. But I just want to remind you that that means nothing in business. Subway, when you opened a Subway franchise, they'd say, we won't put a store within X blocks of you. And then they came in and said, we're going to change that. Just do whatever they want. American Airlines, they can cancel your entire trip if you miss the first part of your flight. So even though you paid for 2 seats there and back and you've reserved it, doesn't matter. Same thing, remove you from a plane for disturbing other passengers. Their rules, they get to decide. You get to decide for your tours what's important. What are you putting in there? Is there a photographer that comes along as a part of it? What is that value that that company really wants? Car gurus, they don't let you manage your listing inside the app. They are a company that's built around listing your car, and from within their app, you can't manage your listing. It's so crazy, just the stuff you can get away with. Audible, you can't access your wish list. Santa's Village charges you $25 to bring in your own cooler. Whatever rules you want to make up for your corporate tours and your private tours, the floor is open. You get to decide what that value is and what they're going to find is important on the value. So the idea of moving up, who is this for? Know your job, and then finally find out what works best for you.